Good evening, everyone. Today is Monday, July 6th, 2026. I've got a little after 7 p.m., so I'd like to go ahead and call to order this regular meeting of Gahanna City Council. If you are able, please rise and join me in the invocation and pledge of allegiance led by Councilmember Padova.
As we gather this evening, let us reflect on the weekend festivities that brought our community together. As we watched the fireworks and then lined the streets the next day, we were reminded that America is built not only on shared ideals, but on shared participation. As our nation celebrates 250 years, we recognize that this experiment in self-government has endured because generations before us fought to secure the freedoms we enjoy and accepted the responsibilities that come with them. May we honor that legacy by listening with respect, serving with integrity, and remaining active participants in our community and our democracy. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilmember Padova. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Bowers.
Here.
Jones is absent. McGregor.
Here.
Padova.
Here.
Renner.
Here.
Schnetzer. Here. Weaver.
Here. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda this evening? All right. Seeing none, moving right along to Section C, presentations. We do have one joint resolution and proclamation presentation this evening honoring Kylie Tibbs, our state wrestling champion, once again. So no stranger to our chambers here. I won't read the resolution in full, but I'll highlight a couple things. Junior Kylie Tibbs, GLHS Junior Kylie Tibbs, recently competed in the Ohio High School Athletic Association State Wrestling Championship, where she captured her second consecutive state wrestling championship title. Throughout her 2025-2026 wrestling season, she had an outstanding 44-2 record, including 9 victories over top 10 ranked wrestlers in the state of Ohio. Not only that, but she helped lead the GLHS girls wrestling team to a 5th place finish at the state tournament and the program's first ever OCC championship with a perfect 5-0 conference season. Ms. Tibbs has been recognized for her exceptional performance by being named both OCC Wrestler of the Year and Ohio High School Wrestling Coaches Association Wrestler of the Year. That's a mouthful. Ms. Tibbs is not only excellent on the wrestling mat, but excels academically as one of 11 members of the girls wrestling team to earn academic honors by maintaining a grade point average of 3.5 or higher. I've always said, if you want something done, find a busy person, and student athletes are no exception. This summer, Ms. Tibbs continues to represent GLHS and the city of Gahanna through national and international wrestling competition opportunities, including training and competition in Italy, before representing Team Ohio at the 2026 USA Wrestling Junior and 16 and under national championship in Fargo, North Dakota. And I'm hoping that we can get an update on where training stands or how those competitions went. But I think at this point, I'll turn things over to Coach and Ms. Tibbs and family, and then we'll grab a photo. Good evening and welcome to council.
Hi. So Italy was amazing. It was a great opportunity. There was a week camp, and then there was a competition with people from all around the world, like Spain, Lithuania, Dominican Republic, and we all competed together. There was a lot of girls and a lot of training opportunities and to make a lot of friends. I did get injured, but I mean, that's normal for me. I get injured a lot, so I mean, I'm still gonna wrestle and put my all out there on the mat. I can't just thank myself. I do put a lot of hard work into this sport, but people around me really support me and help me to get where I am. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
I'd add to that. Kylie makes everybody around her better. This year we had 20 girls start the season. We went up with 8 go to districts out of sectionals and 4 make it to state and 2 placed. So again, the room is getting better again because of wrestlers like Kylie and the hard work and everything else. So the sport is growing, our team's growing, and we're getting better every year. And it's all her fault. No, it's, again, and it's fun coaching her. She enjoys it, makes it fun. Coaching with this guy, he's just a little nervous every once in a while, just a little bit. But no, it is fun. And like I said, the opportunity she had in Italy, we've got one of our high school coaches takes a bunch of kids different places. As you recall, she went to Japan last year, just learning some different styles. Everybody's going to little gyms around here, but nobody went to Japan or Italy, I don't think. So again, I think she got a leg up on that. And then Fargo is 14th to 17th. So in about 2 weeks, they'll be in Fargo.
Well, we wish you all the best in 2 weeks, and I think if my colleagues and city attorney, mayor, if you'll join me, and we'll take a photo.
Give them all three.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, you're fine.
She'll look at me. Hold on. I'll let her go first. Let him go first. Sorry. You guys.
You wanna go on?
Nope.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Got it.
Okay. I didn't count, but 3, 2, 1. All right. Thank you. I took like 7. Tell on themselves.
Well, we wish Ms. Tibbs all the best in Fargo and for continued success next year. I have no doubt that we will be right back here at the same time next year.
Don't jinx it.
Not jinxing it, just to,
Hard work, no
Yeah.
injuries, and a great season.
yes. So, all right, moving right along, Section D, hearing of visitors. I have one speaker slip. Mr. Clerk, do you have any additional slips? All right. As a reminder, you will have 3 minutes, and please state your name and address for the record. And I've got Mr. Tim McClurg. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Tim McClurg, 935 Leaf Lock Court in beautiful Gahanna. Just a couple things. One, I love that we still do the Pledge of Allegiance and that everyone on council does the Pledge of Allegiance. This is our 250th year anniversary, and a lot of city councils that we've been seeing around the country, some people aren't standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I don't understand how that can be possible in today's society. So I really appreciate that everyone does that. I actually think it should be back in school, but that's neither here nor there. The fireworks was fantastic. I think we did our community proud with the 250th anniversary. I didn't hear anybody say anything bad about them. They were fantastic. It was a beautiful night, except for the delay that we had, but everything else went off without a hitch, I thought. There was a ton of people down there, and so I think the staff of Parks and Rec and the police did a wonderful job. I don't know that there was any kind of incident or anything like that. That has been happening in other communities around here, that teenagers are starting to get band together and cause trouble with things. And there was a lot of teenagers there, but I didn't see any of that happening. So I was very pleased with that. The main reason why I wanted to come is to talk about the tech center and a little more information. I'd like a little more information to be presented about why the electrical went so bad off the rails. I mean, when I do electrical work at home, there's an inspector that comes out and looks at it before I ever put drywall or anything up. And this just seems kind of weird that, we have to tear all this stuff out in order to fix the electrical on this. I mean, we were supposed to move in April, and here we are in July. I know you're putting stuff in the water bills that says, we're moving along, but I don't think there's ever been an explanation as to what happened with how they got away with doing shoddy work. Also, questioning in the water bill, I don't remember seeing anything about what's going to be done with the old buildings. That's pretty valuable land that we have in Gahanna. It's right in the middle of Gahanna. I would hate to have it be developed by someone else for something that we would never be able to get the land back again if we gave it up. I know the school already has a ton of land now because of their new high school and tearing down the old one. And the last thing was the parking lot that's being removed at the sanctuary. Do we have any idea where the blues stage is going to go for our next jazz and blues? And that's all I had.
McClurg, thank you. Appreciate it. And I would just say, if you're able, stay tuned. We're receiving a 8:25 update during Committee of the Whole immediately following our regular council meeting. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as published?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Renner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Schnetzer. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Renner,
Yes.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
McGregor,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
Bowers.
Yes.
All right, consent agenda is adopted. All right, Section F, resolutions. Mr. Clerk, would you please read the item under Section F?
Resolution 0025-2026, a resolution of authorization to apply for the NatureWorks grant program administered by the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for the Creekside Reimagined project.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Did the administration wish to make any comments on this item?
I don't believe at this time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 0025-2026?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Renner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bowers. Any discussion?
Yes.
Ms. Bowers.
Chair, Mr. Weaver, thank you. I think I just wanted to clarify, since this, as far as I recall, this item was not on committee. So I think just to get clarity in the record, my understanding is that this is purely authorizing the administration to seek a grant with ODNR. This does not bind us to any, and would only be for flood mitigation and flood proofing, not authorizing any or sort of putting the cart before the horse on any other design work or improvements. Is that right, Mr. Schultz?
It's simply to apply for a grant for the acquisition of temporary flood barriers. Per Mrs. McGregor's question in an email earlier today, it's probably better referred to as removable flood protection.
Okay.
It's part of the overall design for the flood protection, but we had an opportunity to kind of pull this out of the project, if you would, and apply for a grant just for this very specific item. We haven't picked the product at this particular point in time. We have some cost estimates, which is being utilized as part of the grant application itself. But we'll choose a product further on down the road. The reason why it was not presented at that committee was the opportunity just popped up because of the committee schedule and such. We needed to present it in order to meet the July 15th deadline.
Yeah, very, very good. And when would the temporary barriers be deployed? Like, what would be the circumstances under which these would be utilized?
So generally speaking, right, there's temporary flood protection down there currently. These are what we would refer to as stop logs that go underneath the bridge and then in the garage opening on the south side of the property where the garbage is picked up. Those are generally deployed when we're anticipating a 100-year flood event, which Mr. Guthrie gave us some statistics the other day, but these are rarely deployed actually down in the area. So it's when we're anticipating a very, very high flood as opposed to just some of the other more customary flooding that the site experiences.
And are the current assets obsolete or no longer functional?
The stop log system is being replaced. The stop logs are not as effective as a system like this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Schultz.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Bowers. Any additional discussion? All right, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Renner,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
McGregor, Padova,
Yes.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes. All right, resolution is adopted. Section G, ordinances for introduction and first reading. Mr. Clerk, would you please read the items?
Ordinance 0021-2026, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to issue a notice of award and enter into an agreement with Rumpke of Ohio, Inc. for residential waste collection services. Ordinance 0023-2026, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a community reinvestment area agreement with Deffenbaugh Flex LLC for the construction of a flex office/industrial building on parcel number 025-014-174-00, part of Community Reinvestment Area Number 1.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. No further action will be taken on those two items this evening. Next up, ordinances for introduction, waiver, and adoption, Section H. Mr. Clerk, would you please read the item?
Ordinance 0022-2026, an ordinance making supplemental appropriations and waiving second reading. Capital Improvement Fund for the Friendship Park Playground Replacement Project.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. I think we'll start first with, is there a motion to waive second reading of ordinance 0022-2026?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Bowers. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Renner. Any discussion on the motion to waive second reading? All right, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bowers,
Yes.
Renner,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
McGregor.
Yes.
All right, second reading is waived. Now, is there a motion to approve the underlying ordinance?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Renner. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Bowers. Any discussion on ordinance 22-2026? All right, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Renner,
Yes.
Bowers,
Yes.
Padova,
Yes.
Schnetzer,
Yes.
Weaver,
Yes.
McGregor.
Yes.
All right, thank you. The ordinance is adopted. Section I, correspondence and actions. Mr. Clerk.
Nothing this evening.
All right, thank you, sir. Anything from my council colleagues? Moving right along to our representatives, Section J. We'll start first with the Community Improvement Corporation, Mr. Renner and Ms. Padova.
Nothing this evening.
I have nothing.
All right, thank you. Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, encourage folks to take a look at the full report. Thanks as always to Council Office for their assistance. Commission did meet on June 11th, and the next meeting is scheduled for August 13th. There's some updates to some of the legislative items to, if you've been following along. There was a great interview with MORPC's Chief Mobility and Infrastructure Officer, Parag Agrawal, on All Sides, I want to say Ann Fisher, but with Amy Jurovich on WOSU. And if you have any interest in the conversation on passenger rail and initiatives throughout the region, I would encourage you to take a listen to that. I know we've had speakers come in before, mention that as a passion. As folks may be aware, Governor DeWine did sign the state capital budget. There's a link there so folks can review approved projects that were included in the budget. Some events that folks might find interesting. Save the date for the Ohio Association of Regional Councils. They will be hosting a candidate forum for the candidates for governor and the candidates for U.S. Senate. There will be a MORPC Social Media Summit on August 19th. And the Morpsey Summit on Sustainability, which I know is always a hot event, will be on October 28th. And that should do it for my Morpsey report. So Convention and Visitors Bureau, Ms. Padova.
This week on July 8th is the Gahanna Market, and there will be live music from Ty Perkins. So stop by Creekside for that again on Wednesday from 4 to 7. And that's all for me.
Thank you. And we will forego our school board report from Ms. Jones for this evening. Official reports, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Before I begin, or as I begin this meeting, I would like to express condolences, our heartfelt condolences to the family and loved ones of Toby Forsyth following his tragic passing over the weekend. The loss of a young life is especially heartbreaking. I remember being in law school, and I lost a dear friend, and when you're that age, it's very difficult to comprehend. So our thoughts are all with everyone who knew and loved him as they navigate these difficult days ahead. And one of the things Gahanna does best is lift one another up. So I hope the family will find support and comfort from our Gahanna community in the days ahead, and we will certainly keep him in our prayers. Thank you for mentioning Mr. Agarwal and his conversation. He's actually been a speaker at a number of things across the country right now, talking about mobility. And he actually was the organizer of Morpsey's inaugural Mobility Exchange, which was held just a few weeks ago. And I was honored when he asked me to speak as part of a panel. We were asked to talk about our comprehensive transportation and mobility plan and the work that we are doing, because that effort really extends beyond traditional roadway planning, which typically focuses on data and crash statistics. But the comprehensive approach that we are taking really looks at everything from economic growth to how we can strengthen infrastructure, and also looking at the community's vision and expectations and how do we develop transit systems that are safe. The more we add multimodal forms of transportation, whether that's scooters, bicycles, pedestrians, we're adding multi-use paths, we're adding this confluence of people traveling in different ways, we create more opportunity for conflict. So taking all of those things into consideration as we design an overall transportation system that is safe and accessible for all is the approach that we are taking. And it was great to have that conversation. I was on a panel with Grove City, who was just beginning their approach to that. We were kind of the middle. It was like the Three Little Bears. And then Dublin presented as well because they have just finished their transportation and mobility plan. So we were able to provide three perspectives of where people are in that process. Good conversation, great panelists throughout the day. And then finally, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the many individuals and organizations whose hard work made recent events over the past few weeks such a success here for Gahanna, from the Creekside Blues and Jazz Festival, which has happened since the last time we were all in this room together. It's hard to believe it's that long ago. To our recent Independence Day fireworks, thank you, Mr. McClurg, for your comments. I'll let our Parks and Recs team know. And the 4th of July parade over the weekend. We had thousands of residents and visitors who came together to celebrate some of Gahanna's most anticipated and beloved community traditions. We all know events of this scale don't happen overnight, and they don't happen by chance. It takes teams of people working months in planning, and really an extraordinary effort. So to that point, would like to extend sincere thanks to our Gahanna Division of Police, Mifflin Township Fire, our partners there, Departments of Parks and Recreation, Public Service, many of our other departments who work behind the scenes, and of course the volunteers who are there before, during, and after each of those events, whether they're managing logistics, ensuring public safety, coordinating operations, or just welcoming residents and guests. You really help to create safe and enjoyable events for everyone, and we thank you. So with that, it would be remiss if I didn't mention Visit Gahanna for their work in presenting the Blues and Jazz Fest. The Gahanna Lions Club, I think it was the 67th year that they have done that parade as well. And of course, our event sponsors, because without their support, we couldn't do any of these events within the community. And they really help to make them special traditions for all of us. So on behalf of our entire community, thanks to all of you who played a part in those memorable and successful events. And then the only other thing I will add is, in addition to the Gahanna Market Wednesday, thank you, Cinema Under the Stars returns this Friday. The weather should be much better than last weekend. I think the movie is National Treasure, so that happens this week. So if you're looking for something fun to do Friday night, take that in. And that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City Attorney Tamala Harrison.
Yes, thank you. As I've previously reported, I'm working on the traffic and criminal code updates. I have completed my review of the traffic code, and I'm working on the criminal code now, so that should be coming to you at a committee meeting, hopefully in August. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Council comment, section L. We'll start with Mr. Renner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just a few comments tonight. First, I want to extend my congratulations to Ms. Tibbs, recognizing a student athlete, back-to-back state championships, and her academic achievement are examples that she sets for others, exactly the kind of moment that reminds us what community pride looks like. I also wanted to briefly reflect on the past 4th of July weekend. As I shared on my Facebook page over the weekend, this year marks, and everybody knows, the 250 years since the birth of an idea for America. An idea rooted in equality, liberty, self-government, and the belief that we continue building a more perfect union over time. For me, one of the most meaningful places where that idea still lives is right here in local government. It lives in the residents who show up, Mr. McClure, the staff who do the daily work, thank you, the volunteers who serve the community, and the decisions we make about parks, public safety, infrastructure, neighborhoods, and quality of life. Democracy is not something that we celebrate only on July 4th. It is something we practice in ordinary work in serving our community. I also want to make a statement about the heat wave. Thankfully, it appears that we're maybe on the cooling side of that event for right now, but it is still a reminder that heat is just not uncomfortable weather. It is public health, infrastructure, and community resilience. I definitely extend my appreciation to the mayor and her staff for our work on the city, first responders, service crews, and community partners who continue to serve residents throughout these severe conditions. And get ready, they're coming more. Thank you to all the staff, my colleagues, and the residents who continue to be engaged. And that ends my statement.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. Mrs. McGregor.
Couple things. One, I've enjoyed watching the responses of all the visitors we've had from all over the world for the World Cup. And who knew that if we just served everybody ranch dressing and extra refills, we'd have won the wars maybe years ago. So, but on a more sobering note, a couple years ago, and it's probably been more than that, a couple, but former building inspector Carl Lang was a speaker at one of the Memorial Day celebrations. And he didn't really give a speech. He just recited the statistics of all the men and women who were casualties during all the wars. And it was quite a lengthy recitation. And it was pretty sobering by the time he was finished. And this weekend, it was just such a wonderful celebration of our freedom, but a reminder that freedom is not free, and the price is the many millions of military lives that have been lost in defense of our nation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McGregor. Mr. Schnetzer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Given that we have 30 minutes until the World Cup kicks off, quite literally, I'll be extremely brief. But I did want to pass on in the, with now 2 days since America's 250th birthday, I saw a post that was circulating that I thought was worth passing along, and I thought it was quite poignant. It said that the fact that we in this country celebrate the Declaration of Independence rather than its completion is it reflects an inherent optimism in the fabric of this great nation that we all call home. So I thought that was very succinct and kind of to the point, and is one of the things I think separates this great country from many of the others out there. I'm proud to call it home. So that's all for me.
Thank you, Mr. Schnetzer. Ms. Padova.
Yeah, just want to say thank you to all of the Parks Department, GPD, everyone that was working over the weekend and last week to get everything ready for the festivities on Friday and Saturday, especially in the extreme heat that Councilman Renner mentioned. Also to the Lions Club for always doing such a great job with the parade. It is such a staple in the community, and it's just nice to see everybody getting out and just smiles on everyone's faces. It is a pretty long walk for me because I am not a very walking, running type of person, but seeing everyone's smiles and cheering always keeps me going. So thank you to everybody that showed up to participate.
All right, thank you, Ms. Padova and Ms. Bowers.
Thank you very much. Well, first, I will join Mayor Jadwin in extending my sincere condolences to the Forsyth family on the tragic loss of their son, Toby. While summer is a season of a lot of celebration, unfortunately, it's also a season of increased crashes. I urge everyone to remind our young drivers of that, and also to thank first responders in our lives for all that they do, not just during this important weekend, but throughout the year. I have attached my constituent report for May and June to this evening's agenda. So for a recap on some of the things that I engaged in over the last couple of months and some of the issues that were brought to my attention, please feel free to take a look at that. In that, I've also identified my thanks, my gratitude to the Charter Review Commission. They are about to join us here in mere moments on the committee agenda, and we've got a few of the members here in the audience. So thank you very much for your service to this community, and we look forward to your presentation in just a couple of minutes. Congratulations to Ms. Tibbs as well. And finally, I'll just thank Ms. Padova for her invocation this evening. I very much share the sentiment that the best way to honor this country is to honor participation in this wonderful experiment of democracy. And I think that former President Obama also reflected on the importance of participation in his remarks over the weekend. So thank you very much, and I look forward to the conversation during committee.
Thank you, Ms. Bowers. And I will be brief this evening. I will echo the many thanks to all of the staff, all the officers, all the volunteers who've made the last several weeks of events so successful. I know folks have heard me say before that as a first-generation American myself, the events of this weekend are not lost on me. I'm very deeply proud to be a first-generation American and the proud son of immigrants. And it's always fun talking with my better half, who can trace her family in this country since before the Declaration. Best as I can tell, I might have had some ancestors who fought in the Revolution, but they would have been wearing some red coats. But the fact that my wife and I can share such different origin stories in this country, I think, is what makes this country such an incredible place to be and to call home. And amazing to see the community turn out this weekend as we celebrated the hope that is our country. And so I thank Mr. Schnetzer particularly for your comments this evening. I will also share my condolences to the Forsyth family on the tragic events of this weekend. And as the mayor said, we are a community that lifts each other up, and encourage our community members to do just that during this unbelievably difficult time. So, and not to get ahead of ourselves for committee, but following up on Ms. Bauer's comments, I want to thank everyone who is willing to serve on one of our city's boards or commissions. Certainly the Charter Review is a time consuming endeavor, and thank the members who are here this evening, but also the members who aren't able to join us this evening for their service. I know it's a small token of appreciation, but on behalf of our colleagues, you'll be receiving some certificates of appreciation from us. Thank you for your service, and I look forward to your presentation here in just a moment. Anything else for regular council before we adjourn to committee? All right, seeing none, we will adjourn our regular council meeting. Mr. Clerk, are we good to go? Does anybody need a minute, or are we good to just plow ahead? All right, so we will go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Committee of the Whole. I've got 7:37. We will get started first with items from the Charter Review Commission. We're honored to be joined by several of our commission members. I'll turn things over to you. Good evening.
Thank you so much, Council President Weaver, members of council. It's a pleasure to be before you tonight to be able to discuss the work of the Charter Review Commission. Before we get to our presentation, since everyone else talked about July 4th and the celebrations, I unfortunately was not in town. I was with my dad at a baseball game in Cleveland that ended up getting rained out Friday night. But my wife took our 4-year-old to go to fireworks, and it was her first fireworks show that she had ever seen, and she got to share it with 2 of her best friends from daycare, and I got a direct quote from my wife that my daughter said that this was the best night of her life. So thank you so much for putting on an amazing show. I hate that I wasn't there to be able to witness it, but my 4-year-old, she gave her seal of approval, so thank you. But tonight, Vice Chair Wester and I are here to be able to discuss the work of the Charter Review Commission. I just want to provide a quick overview of our work and the process that kind of went into the recommendations that you have before you tonight. These recommendations, we heard a lot of different proposals that came in. Many of you gave some of us some different proposals to be able to consider. And the commission, we really took our charge seriously, but at the same time, we understood that not necessarily every proposal that we would hear would be one that we would ultimately recommend to advance. Our goal was to determine really which amendments would be appropriate, what was really ready and prepared and important enough to be able to present to council and eventually the voters. So with that, move on, and Vice Chair Wester.
Just a kind of a brief overview of kind of our process and our timeline. So we were a commission of 7 members, as you guys know, 4 appointed by council, 3 by the mayor. We held 11 public meetings. Public comment was able to be taken at every meeting. February, we had a traditional organizational meeting, elected leadership, set the rules of the commission, all of that good stuff. March really began kind of our more formal process. We had a couple of presentations end of February and beginning of March. Just kind of catch everybody up to, local government. The Gahanna strategic plan was presented, just to kind of get everybody on the same level playing field as far as information and local government. March really kind of encapsulated our adopted process and framework. We started by cataloging correspondence, suggested amendments from the administration, council members, and boards and commission members. April is where we kind of got to the meat of everything, so to speak. We started deliberating on the necessity of changes, potential consequences of changes, and constantly asked the question, what are we solving for? Or what is the issue posed by the current language that needs to be changed? We scored remaining amendments, and everything else remaining was moved over to the city attorney for drafted language. May, we really got into the language and proposing rationale for changes to the charter. Some amendments were thrown out if there wasn't enough evidence or support for the change. And then June, we wrapped up, revised the final language, talked about everything from single subject rules, and clarified the rationale for changes. And our last meeting was on June 8th, and I believe what's been submitted to you was basically, I think there's a few changes, but that was our June 8th meeting.
So an important part of our process and what we did was we created a framework to be able to filter out and evaluate the different proposals that came to us. And this was a framework that was adopted by our commission. And we were trying to answer just kind of a few questions as we were overviewing all of the different proposals that came in. is this a proposal that is charter level? Because not necessarily every idea was something that belonged in the charter. Some things were more appropriate for council legislation or some sort of administrative rule or something like that. So we wanted to be able to have those discussions to make sure that proposals that we received, we were talking about things that were actually charter level. Additionally, we wanted to make sure that we had sufficient information. So we wanted to make sure that we had a good, thorough understanding of these proposals and the things that we were discussing. None of us were really subject matter experts necessarily in all of these things, so we really relied on being able to have folks who were coming in making the proposals giving us information. We relied on our city attorney to be able to provide background and nuance to those discussions, just to really make sure that we had the information that we needed to feel comfortable being able to make it a recommendation. And then ultimately, is it going to be ready for drafting? Part of our framework that we adopted, we had a few scoring criteria. And ultimately, this framework, it wasn't something, it wasn't an authoritative thing that we voted on based off of the framework and whatever scores we gave it. Ultimately, it's the commission's decision as a whole to be able to advance something forward. But we thought it was valuable to have some sort of way to have a lens to be able to look at things through. And we looked at things through governance relevance, public impact, governance clarity and effectiveness, strategic plan alignment, legal risk alignment, because we definitely don't want to do something that might get us sued or something like that. And then whether or not this was something that could be clearly communicated to the voters and would be ready for the ballot. So that was really an important tool that we used to be able to initially be able to score, but then honestly, looking at things through those criteria, it just gave us a lens throughout the entire process on being able to examine ideas that and potential proposals that we had. So it was a work that we all put in together. So, Wester.
We'll be able to take questions if you guys have specific questions, but just for the purposes of summary, there are 10 amendments, as we've stated. There's really kind of 4 categories to lump those together. The first 2 really just achieve modernizing or aligning the language to just more up-to-date, streamlined language. The first one was the under this category were the administrative department titles that were in the charter. We kind of cleaned that up just to align more closely with how our city currently operates. Second one under that same category was some cleanup language the city attorney submitted for her section. A lot of small typos, changes, things like that. Kind of the second category is to clarify or standardize the charter language. There is an amendment regarding elected official qualifications. Some of you guys came and spoke on that. And then also the abstention process for council members during voting. Those were just kind of more standardized, just cleaner language, generally speaking. The third one is to reduce cost or duplication. This is kind of an interesting trivia question. The first one in this category was the mayoral primary, which our current language, even if you only have 2 candidates, you've got to go through the primary process, which does cost the city quite a bit of money, sometimes unnecessarily. I believe in 2023, it was over $300,000 that it cost the city to run that election, if memory serves. So quite a big amount of money. The second one in that same category is planning and zoning appeals, which is our BZBA. Recommended from the administration to remove that and have Planning Commission handle those matters. And then the last one is just accountability and stewardship. There's an amendment to explain or determine how ward boundaries can be adjusted or changed. Planning Commission attendance was specifically kind of thought out or explained in the charter. It was very specific, so we streamlined that a little bit. And then how often the Charter Review Commission meets. That was a bit of an outlier. We amended that to be every 10 years. And then lastly, the non-discrimination clause at the end of the charter. That is to just be more inclusive and up to date with 2026 language.
So now that the commission, we have substantively completed our work now, the next decision points come to council. Each recommendation that we've made really reflects meaningful and at times, sometimes vigorous public discussions. We definitely had some very enthusiastic discussions along the way, which honestly, I feel like good public policy comes from those types of discussions. In addition, we had strong legal review and just careful consideration. I think that this was a charge that we took very seriously, and I think the public record shows that we had a lot of discussion and put a lot of time and effort into our ultimate recommendations. So ultimately, it was our final judgment that these were the proposed amendments to come to council and ultimately the voters. And we appreciate council's consideration, and we're ready to answer any questions that you may have for us. So thank you.
Thank you, Chair Barnhart, Vice Chair Wester. Thank you very much. I do want to give the city attorney an opportunity to speak to process, but should we take questions for the commission members first, or would you like to?
If I could do a quick.
Okay, great.
Yes.
City attorney, please.
Thank you. So I wanted to draw your attention to kind of explain a little bit more about the council consideration role for these resolutions that are before you and that will be up for introduction at the next meeting. So the charter does mandate that any recommendations put forth by the Charter Review Commission be submitted to the electorate. So that is a shall statement. It is a mandatory passage to the electorate for any of the certified recommendations by the Charter Review Commission. So the council's role is not necessarily to opine upon the appropriateness of these resolutions, to modify any language that was recommended, or to make a statement about whether these are in the best interest of the community. That has been done by Charter Review Commission in their recommendation. That's what they're tasked with in the charter. And so I would just want to remind all of council that this body's role is to pass this on to the electorate. And so the resolutions are very clearly worded so that it is to acknowledge receipt of those recommendations, to approve the final drafted language, and then to direct the Board of Elections to place this onto the ballot machines. And in that vein, there were 2 Scrivener errors that were in the drafting that have been corrected prior to submission of these resolution languages. The first was simply a header. There's 3 columns in each resolution exhibit that explains the current charter, the proposed charter language, and the rationale thereof. There was one resolution that in the final, the Charter Review Commission drafting had the correct title in column 1, but had the wrong article number in columns 2 and 3. That has since been corrected. And then lastly, in the non-discrimination clause, that would be Article 23.07 that is changed. There was an accidental duplication of categories. So it listed all of the categories and it listed 4 of them again. So we have cleaned up that language to just include one iteration of each category. So it does not change the substance of that. It simply corrected 2 clerical errors. And that's all I have.
Thank you, City Attorney, and thank you for the guidance that you provided throughout the commission process as well. I think I'll just open it up to questions and comments from the dais at this point. Mrs. McGregor.
I'll say thank you for doing this. I was at the last meeting when you all decided on which of the many choices you had, and it was quite a lively discussion. Of all the ones I picked, I think I picked a good one to go to.
You absolutely did.
So it was really, thank you all. I know it was a lot of time, and everybody seemed to either, maybe not always agree, but you got along, and that was really important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McGregor. Mr. Renner.
Yes, I too want to definitely thank you both and your colleagues for all the time that you spent on this very important endeavor. I also really, because I've been on council for so long that I've been through several Charter Commission outputs. But one thing that's unique about what stands out about your process is you didn't do it cavalierly. You didn't do it sophomorically. You use a process that focused on the change understandable to voters. And I think that is actually going to be part of the story when we roll this out to the electorate. to definitely explain, or you guys explain the process. So thank you very, very much.
Madam Mayor?
Thank you. I also just wanted to say thank you and express sincere appreciation for the time. Having sat through those meetings week after week, I appreciated the thoughtfulness. But more than that, it was the time for preparation before the meeting. It was clear research had been done, that there had been thoughtful consideration given, and correct, that you didn't always agree, but it was always handled with professionalism and with respect, and working through the challenges that you had. Our charter is the foundation for how we operate. We talked a lot earlier about what this milestone Independence Day meant for our country, and it is the foundation upon which we operate. And the charter dictates how transparent, how accountable we all are to our residents. And I appreciated everything that you gave to respecting that. So again, it was a long process, but a very intricate, detailed one. And I, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your service. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And again, thanks so much, and to Mr. Hill, who's joined us in the audience as well, for your service, and to all the members. I did have one question that I'm not sure has been answered yet for me, and one just a quick clarification. So throughout the process, at several of the meetings, there was discussion of form of government. And even at the opening meeting, there was a presentation from an academic who came in and spoke about form of government. And then subsequently, there's pieces of correspondence, I think as late as maybe June 4th, there was another piece of correspondence received by the commission. I know you didn't take a vote on creating an ad hoc body or recommending the creation of some kind of study group, but is it your sense that would be a prudent measure based on the number of outreach that you received?
I mean, I think that the commission, you're right, there were a couple of pieces of correspondence, and it was a discussion item that was brought up. Ultimately, from the perspective of the commission, there really wasn't a strong rationale put forth to really say, like, this is the reason why. I think that there could be room to have those discussions, but ultimately, I don't think that that's something that we as a commission are prepared to be able to make a recommendation or to say that we heard strongly. Other than Councilwoman Padova, I don't think anybody else actually came and spoke to us about that discussion item. So outside of a couple pieces of correspondence, I don't think that that was a really strong item that bubbled up through our process.
Okay.
Ultimately, if that's something that council decides as a body should be examined, I think that that's something that's within your ability to be able to do. But I think as the commission, I don't think that we can say yes on that. I just don't think that it came up strongly enough in our process. Ms. Wester?
Thanks for the question. I'll just add that I think this commission, our intention was to take what was given to us and look at it objectively. When Ms. Padova came to our commission, I know I myself and Mr. Hill, from memory, we both questioned her further to see, what is the reason you want to look at this? What isn't working? I can say with all confidence that I was happy to have a discussion. I know Chair Barnhart was as well. We never got to the root of why are we looking at such a monumental change. Ms. Padova, by her own words, said things are working well. And so where we landed every time with whether it's something as big as form of government or something as small as changing, a date in the charter or something like that, we kept going back to, if we're going to change it, what is the consequence and what is the reason? What isn't working with the current language or the way we do things currently? And I can say I was waiting for more information to be submitted to us, and it just never came. Quite frankly, there just was nothing of substance to really start the conversation, in my opinion.
Okay, that answers that question. Again, I think I wanted to make sure I understood the position of the commission, given that there was correspondence in the record that brought it up and the conversation opened with form of government. So I wanted to make sure I was clear on why that was not being recommended for further study, because we did get outreach from residents on that. The second question I had is that one of the proposals is to change the charter review cadence to every 10 years from every 5. And Ms. Wester, you alluded to that being more standardized or perhaps on par with peer communities. Could you elaborate more on the why? And then what recourse, again, if you could speak to this, what recourse do we have? If you want to just share, I mean, I know that council can advance proposals, and I also know that residents can bring forward resident-led initiatives, but could you speak a little bit more to the body's thoughts?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. What we found often, myself included, when we were researching a proposed amendment, we looked at other charters. I have read every charter in Franklin County multiple times. It's not exciting, I'll just tell you that, but it was informative.
I disagree. I love reading different charters.
Ethan is Ethan, and we love Ethan.
I get a bumper sticker that says,
Yes,
I
he
love
does.
charter review, so.
And he really likes spreadsheets.
Ethan's voting no on this proposal.
He's a real fan of spreadsheets as well. What we found where in other charters, 10 years seems to be the more common cadence. I would liken it, just my own opinion, to if you have a recipe that's been handed down through a family and everybody changes a little bit every Christmas or every holiday, you end up with something that really starts to look different than the original product. And so I think that the feeling on the commission, if I could be so bold, was that there was a lot of tweaking and changes, and sometimes just the fact that a commission is seated, leads one to believe that changes have to be made. And I know that was one of the things we were cognizant of, is we didn't want to make changes just for the sake of making changes. And so I think that there's just a temptation there, having it every 5 years. It seems to be more frequent than other surrounding communities.
Yeah, and I think that I would add, from my review of the charter, I mean, there are certain things that you come across and you're like, there's some inconsistencies here. And a lot of times that comes from the cadence of the reviews. There are updates that are made, every 5 years. So it's just like each review adds in a new little wrinkle. So it's just like you're changing your foundational document and you're creating more inconsistencies that may have to be cleaned up later, potentially. And ultimately, I think that when you have your foundational governing document, it's not something that should be updated too often. It should be a foundational document. I mean, we're talking about like the United States Constitution has only been, amended a certain number of times, and Gahanna's has been updated. I'm not sure what the number.
I think it's over 80.
Yeah, and that's since, the 1960s. So that's pretty remarkable. And I don't necessarily believe it makes for the most efficient process. And when you're looking and benchmarking at other communities, 10 years is definitely the norm. 5 years is out of the normal.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions again for the commission members. Again, thank you for your service.
All right, I'll just say thank you very much for your service, and thank you to your colleagues as well. We're deeply appreciative, and I think as a matter of process, as the city attorney laid out, we will, it's their resolution, so are folks okay with the consent agenda at our next meeting then for all 10 proposals?
I guess I do have a question for the city attorney, and then I guess for my colleagues. So my understanding is that council can also advance proposals to the ballot in November, in addition to the 10 proposals that are brought forward by the commission. Is that a correct understanding?
Yes, council can advance a charter amendment with a vote of five affirmative votes at any time.
Okay. I guess I just wanted to take the temperature of my peers and get a sense. There were a couple of proposals that were not certainly not, did not rise to the level of priority that I think was being reviewed by the commission. And so I wanted to bring these two items back up. One is the organizational meeting date, and I recognize that that's a fairly minor issue for the commission, but it was raised by Director Vollmer. I raised it. I believe, Mr. Barnhart, you had raised it at an early meeting. And right now, our charter sort of arbitrarily establishes an organizational meeting date of January 2nd. And my thought was that if we just allow it to occur within the first week of the month, that would allow us to hold it on the normal, like a normal Monday, as opposed to possibly a Saturday like is coming up in 2027. So I guess I just wanted to kind of feel it out and see if others felt similarly. It seems like a relatively minor addition to advance to allow that. My thinking from a transparency and access standpoint is that it doesn't affect transparency because we're announcing meeting dates ahead. In fact, it could contribute to consistency if we're able to hold it on a first Monday. And then my thought that it might be something we could avoid. Historically, we haven't had.
Mr. Schnetzer.
Just some initial thoughts, and these are 7 individuals that we all jointly appointed that put in the work, and it sounds like it was very process-oriented. I think speakers today have mentioned impressed with the process, so I'm inclined to defer to the lack of a recommendation from the commission. If memory serves me correctly, one of the concerns that came up was, and I understand it's probably a 0.0001% chance, but if there were some form of a emergency and we didn't have a fully sworn-in government, that could create a bit of an issue. And so my position is that I'm going to defer to the lack of a recommendation from the commission on that one.
Can I ask a follow-up on this? So when does the term officially begin? Because I remember, watching years of presidential inaugurations, and no matter where they are in the proceedings, generally there's a newscaster who announces, well, it's noon, so-and-so's the president now. And that might be before the oath is administered. And so I believe the charter and, the certificate that I received from the Board of Elections, says term commencing January 2nd, but it doesn't necessarily say, at a 5 p.m. organizational meeting or, so does the administration of the oath or the organizational meeting itself bear any impact on when the official start of the term is?
So pursuant to our charter, each elected office does prescribe a day in which somebody is to assume office, but then it also states that they shall continue to hold office until the successor is elected and qualified, which would mean essentially sworn in. So it depends. It's always the answer, right? So in this circumstance, if we were to change the organizational meeting, the term would still begin when it is prescribed to begin, which would be January 2nd. However, when you would assume that office when you take your oath. Your term is defined, but the actual service begins when you're sworn in. And then it would continue until your successor is elected and qualified.
Thank you.
Yes.
Ms. McCray?
It seems to me, I tend to agree with Mike. We appointed the majority of the commission, and we appointed, 7 people were appointed, they did all this work, they made the decisions, and I don't see any reason to add something. One of the things at the last meeting that they discussed was ballot fatigue. And we already have 10 items on here. And to add more, I think, would be not, I don't see the point in that. And, it's probably a 1.5 hour meeting. I don't see the big deal of what day it is.
Mr. Renner?
Yes, So, two comments. One, thank you, City Attorney, for that interpretation of the charter. For years, the Board of Elections tells me that my term expires December 31st. So I'm a little bit puzzled, and I'll definitely defer to you, but yeah, so there's that. The other thing is that I think it's actually intriguing to debate this, and I think that we'll have a committee appropriate to bring forth ideas and to opine on this. To the question before us, I actually lean towards making it more efficient. You know, if it's Monday, then it's fine. I think the argument about the Charter Review Commission actually doing it and deferring to their decision, I think that's important. But it is also important that the 7 members are duly elected by the electors, and that we do have a responsibility, and to just basically question it. And so I look for further debate on this issue.
Ms. Cadeau?
Yeah, I do like the consistency of the ability to be able to do it on a Monday. This past year, or this year, we met on a Friday at, I think it was 4 o'clock. So, you know, we didn't want to do it at 7 o'clock, our normal time on a Friday night, because that's quite inconvenient for everybody, especially staff. We don't want to take up their Friday nights. And doing it on a Saturday is also, you know, not necessarily great for staff's time. So I always have that in my mind to be respectful of the people that have to be here for this. So I would like, and I also would like to have that consistency because a lot of people know that our meetings are on Mondays. Even just the summer schedule kind of throws some people off, but kind of having that first meeting on a different day throws people off a little bit too. I do hear the sentiment of, you know, we've had the charter review. They've gone back and forth on all of this. But also would echo Mr. Renner that, you know, we also have the ability to do this ourselves as well. I'm not sure that it's a hill I would die on, but I would prefer that it's not something where it's changing every year and that we're able to keep the consistency of it being a Monday night. My concern is that 0.00001% chance that Councilman Schnetzer mentioned. If people are not sworn in, there was an emergency, are people able to be sworn in without it being an official meeting with 24 hours notice? How would that process look? And I'm guessing.
Yes, so there can be a private swearing-in ceremony. It just needs to, the oath must be administered by somebody qualified to administer an oath, as prescribed by the ORC. So that would be a notary public or an elected official with jurisdiction over where we reside. So the answer is it does not have to happen at a public meeting. It can be a private ceremony and then a formal organizational meeting thereafter.
Okay, so if there were some sort of emergency, like people could be called in, you get sworn in, and you can handle that. It wouldn't be something where like you have to wait 24 hours because you have to publicly post it and.
Correct, no, it would not have to happen at a public meeting. It does not have to be noticed to do a private swearing-in ceremony.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cordova. Sorry.
So are we going to move all our meetings to Mondays then, all of them? Holidays or not, we're going to move them all to Monday. Our meetings will all be on Monday.
My thought was that if the, like,
It's the first meeting of the year.
if the January 1st fell on a Monday, then we would then do it on a Tuesday, the same as our normal, holiday. If there's a holiday on a Monday, you do it on a Tuesday.
But I mean, the importance of having it on a Monday, so the consistency, I mean, why don't we have, all our meetings be on Monday, holiday or not?
Well, I mean, part of what we're talking about is staff not having to take holiday time to be here.
But staff doesn't have to be here for the initial meeting. They don't have to be here.
But
Usually
we
it's a very short
often,
meeting.
right, but we often pair the organizational meeting with the first meeting of the year.
Which doesn't usually have much of an agenda at all.
It has on occasion. So you're right, sure. It doesn't have to be, and then we would have two meetings relatively back to back. But we also, correct.
Right.
It was just, I wanted to hear from colleagues to see where folks felt, if it was important or not. It was, again, brought up, like I said, by multiple people, and so I just wanted to make sure I understood where my colleagues were on this. So, thank you, Mrs. McGregor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ms. McGregor. Thank you, Ms. Bowers. So, yeah, similarly, I watched or attended all of the meetings of the Charter Review Commission, and absolutely healthy discussion all around. I'll just say, I'd be interested to see a further conversation on it. I think Mr. Renner made a good point, and certainly, yes, Charter does provide for the Charter Review Commission to make recommendations, but it also gives that authority to council to consider. And perhaps there's not language that we would like to recommend, but I would encourage a further conversation on it, especially considering one of the recommendations from the Charter Review Commission is to move the meeting cadence from 5 years to 10 years. So to remove council's authority or to not utilize council's authority to make recommendations just because it was not something recommended by the Charter Review, I think would be an abdication of our duty. So I would say I would look forward to a further discussion if folks would like to propose some draft language. And I know there's several questions raised. Yes, City Attorney.
The only thing I will add is that while council can advance a ballot measure at any time, the final ballot language must be received by the Board of Elections at least 90 days preceding any election. So I believe that would put our deadline at the first week of August.
And it is, if it were the desire of this body to move it forward, it might not be on this ballot, so.
Understood.
President Weaver, if I
Yes, Mrs.
if I
West.
could just add one final thought. I certainly appreciate the thoughtfulness and the discussion that you guys are having. I brought this up several times in our commissioners' meetings, but those of us that have been involved in local government for any length of time, we all have strong opinions that don't always align with everybody else around us, and that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think differing opinions brings healthy debate, and that's how you get to the best answer, when we don't all think exactly the same about things. I will tell you, just as a note in the back of your mind, one of the things that I had to check myself on, so to speak, is that when you have inside knowledge, or you've worked for the city, or you're elected, or you've been involved with boards and commissions, Mr. Barnhart, of course, and then we had a prior city attorney on our commission as well. I think a lot of times we have opinions or preferences, and one of the things that I tried to check myself on was, am I wanting this or wanting to advance this or not, because it's my preference. It is hard when you've been subjectively in the middle of something to then be objective. And so one of the things that I'll just add, you can, use it or not, is that, answering the, I understand the preference to have a meeting on a certain day or not wanting to come in on a weekend. I certainly understand that. But I think changing a foundational document, for me, I tried to look at it in terms of what is the objective problem we're solving. And so a lot of the things that didn't advance, it wasn't because we had some huge objective reason, to vote against it. It was just simply not that important in the whole scheme of what the charter addresses. So just as final thoughts on that. Appreciate it.
Thank
just
you.
like to make a
Yes.
brief comment. Ms. Bowers, you are correct. Originally, that was an idea that I was in support of. In governments that I've worked for previously, that typically has been the organizational date. It's been in that manner. However, I think that I went into this whole process because I also wanted to always think about unintended consequences of changes, because I think that that's really important, especially when working with a foundational document like this. And when it came to the organizational date, I think Mr. Schnetzler is correct. My hesitation was, especially with the position of the mayor and the executive of the municipality, if their term ends on December 31st, but they're not being sworn in until several days later, there could potentially be something that we don't understand or don't totally know, and then the mayor is not sworn in to be able to take care of that duties appropriately, because there's this gap of time. And to me, just thinking about the importance of continuity of operations, especially in a time of year, you can have snowstorms, ice, things like that the mayor may need to be able to do something. In my mind, I'm just like, that's an unintended consequence that I was personally not comfortable with in the context of our broader review. And I think that that's why my thinking shifted. And there were multiple times throughout the entire charter review process where I came in with initial assumptions and beliefs on certain things. And throughout those discussions and those conversations and really trying to make sure that we were thinking through things, on a really deep level, that we were thinking about those unintended consequences. And there were multiple issues that I feel like my thinking changed throughout that process. So I just wanted to, since you did mention my initial perspective on that, I just wanted to kind of provide some clarity on my thought process.
And if I
Thank you both. Yes, Ms. Bowers.
Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Barnhart, for explaining kind of how your process through it as well. And I raised in my comments that I see one of the assets, one of the real benefits, the way Gahanna does things a little bit differently, is that we're all sworn in together. And so I do see one of the risks would be a drift away from that unity that happens in that that collective swearing-in ceremony. So I recognize that there are pros and cons to changes or to staying where we are. It's why I wanted to again raise it to my colleagues again. As we've talked about, we have an obligation here as well. So I do appreciate the dialogue that was had by the Charter Commission members, and I think that it was also an important conversation to have among the elected officials as well. So thanks for your patience through that this evening.
Great. This is what makes local government great. So thank you.
Well, thank you both, and Mr. Hill, thank you all for your service and your commitment to the community, and thank you for being here this evening. So, just to recap, I think we had said consent agenda on our next meeting for all 10 of the recommendations from the Charter Review Commission. Thank you. Next up, we have items from the Senior Director of Operations. We have an update on 825 Tech Center Drive. Good evening, Director.
Good evening, folks. Forget exactly when I was here with the same presentation with different dates associated with it. I think it was February. But conversation I had with the council clerk this afternoon, he said, you're not going to jinx us, are you, by having this presentation? I said, no, absolutely not. We are full go, and we're here tonight to announce our move to 825 Tech Center Drive in the latter part of the month of July here. As you can see, I'll go back one slide from the renderings to the building as it's been constructed. This picture is taken just this afternoon. The building is It is a very beautifully designed building for a very beautiful community here in the city of Gahanna, and I think it's emblematic of the community that we are and the community that we want to be all at the same time. So I am happy to announce that beginning on the week of July 27th, we will begin moving from this particular facility here at 200 South Hamilton Road to our new home at 825 Tech Center Drive. The plan, as it's outlined here today on this particular slide, is actually the same exact slide as I presented again back in February. We'll begin to move bulk items, records, storage units, shelving, those types of things the week of the 27th. And then we'll begin to move furniture and materials and staff workspaces the following week. And we'll ultimately be operating out of the facility beginning the week of August 10th. Where, again, same proposal that we had, not proposal, but same schedule that we had put forth previously, but City Hall will be closed Monday and Tuesday of that week. We'll go phones only on Wednesday, and then we'll welcome the public to the facility for the first day of operation into the building on Thursday, whatever date that would be, 14.
13th.
8/14. I got that right? And then obviously, right, we're on about a 3 or 4 week cycle in order to get everybody into the building. So different things will happen. I guess one example here, the communication center will actually begin operating out of the facility prior to everybody being moved over there. This way they'll learn the building, how to operate the building, how to operate the parts and pieces inside of the police department that they would be responsible for. We're going to send IT over there early as another example. This way they are comfortable in their spaces and then able to support the staff as they arrive and smaller issues and challenges that the IT staff will have to address may come up. And then the last group that actually moves into the building is our field services group in the police department. So that's basically the road patrol, if you would. So they move in on the week of August 17th. This gives us enough lead time. Again, there's a variety of different activities that take place on this campus here, and then also on the campus of 825. And then we will be planning building dedications the week of August 24th. Anybody want to guess that we're going to do a building dedication on 825 at 825? So good little silver lining, I guess we'll call it, in our delay. And then senior activities, not exactly sure exactly what that looks like the week of August 24th, but senior activities will likely start taking place the Wednesday of that same week, probably with some tours, some coffee, some light activities, not necessarily any programming, and then formal programming starting the week after. So what does that mean board and commission-wise? So for this particular building here, again, just updating the slide from the last time. So August 12th will be the last planning commission meeting in this particular room. Last council meeting in this room would be August 17th. Last Parks Board, August 19th. Reminding everybody here that we do have that fifth Monday, and we're still on the summer schedule in August. So there's only 2 meetings in August, council meetings in August. Fifth Monday on August 31st. Building dedication, again, like I said, on August 25th. And then the first council meeting would be the Tuesday after Labor Day, not the traditional Monday of council, but getting back to the regular schedule. So the first council meeting would be on Tuesday, September 8th, in the new facility. So before I take some questions here, we are planning 3 different visits. Really all 3 for council members to come and tour the building again, finished and completed building. One on July 21st, one on July 23rd. And then we're also having tours of the building for our different commissions, boards and commissions like Planning Commission, the Parks Board, a couple other folks on Wednesday, July 29th. So that's kind of the real highlights of the next couple weeks here. If you see me if you see me with a box walking down Hamilton Road, you know where I'm going. So, yeah. So exciting times, again. This schedule is firm here. And I know that on behalf of the mayor, everybody else that makes this project turn, we're ready to be in a new space and begin to enjoy it as I know all you guys are as well. So with that, I can take any questions.
All right, thank you, Director. Any discussion from my colleagues?
I guess I have a couple
Ms. Bowers?
Thank you. Thank you, Director Schultz. Do you have a sense of time of day for the dedication? Do you believe?
It would be after hours.
After work hours, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we obviously want the community, this is about celebrating with the community. So to do that during the day would make that very difficult.
Okay, thank you. And then, I guess, could you elaborate on any further information about the delays at this time? I do appreciate this, and I appreciate the discretion around that, but, I think that we do have an obligation to inquire about that and to identify kind of the status of it.
Sure.
Especially as it's been raised this evening.
Yeah, so I think as we even talked about it, I think to say that we haven't talked about electrical issues sitting at this particular desk and have brought that to the community's attention, I don't believe that would be 100% accurate. I know I've sat here, again, all the way back in February and indicated that we hadn't moved in some part because of electrical delays and such. When we sat down and we talked about the type of delay and the type of things that needed to take place in order for us to move into the facility, there are two things that were paramount: safety of the facility itself, and then reliability of the facility. It's a police department, it's a communication center, and first and foremost, it needs to serve public safety services to this community in a proper and meaningful way. So we made a strategic decision that we would not move, that we would wait for electrical issues to be resolved before moving into the building again, for the safety of the inhabitants of the building, and then also because of the reliability. And when I say safety, right, it's not critical items. Most of the rooms in which this work needed to take place takes place. Those activities, the general staff are not in those areas and in those rooms. So we made the proper decision to go through the entire building and make sure that it met our safety and reliability standards. Per Mr. Fitzpatrick, who was here end of June-ish, that was all done by Alfred at no cost to the city. So while the city has seen a delay in moving, it has not impacted the budget of this particular project in any way.
Thank you, Kevin, because I was going to make that point. If you did not, I'd also add that we have nothing pushing us out of these buildings. We're not paying rent. We're in these existing facilities, and to make sure we get that building correct and right before we move in, we had the luxury of being able to just say, fine, we'll wait till it's in the position we want it to be in, and with no budgetary impacts to us.
Thank you. I do appreciate that clarity. And certainly, I recall very clearly the conversations that we've had here about the problems with the electrical subcontractor and the accountability from our general contractor on that. So thank you for that. Is there, I know that we are probably solely focused on getting into the new building, but is there any timeline or horizon or preliminary discussions for the 200 South Hamilton and the Rocky Fork parcels?
So this property is a property that we continue to evaluate and continue to figure out exactly what it is that we should and should not be doing with it. That's an ongoing conversation, one that we have, maybe not in earnest, I'll say it that way, right, because of the pressures for other work items. But it is a conversation that we're having, and obviously that conversation will have to speed up here, in the coming weeks and coming months, for sure.
Do we anticipate, you said coming weeks and coming months, so do we anticipate a dialogue within the next quarter, or by the end of the year?
Sure, I would think, to be safe, let's say by the end of the year.
Okay.
I mean, the goal would be within the next quarter, but certainly by the end of the year. I think our focus right now is getting into the building. So let's get through August.
Yeah.
And then we have CIP and budget process that'll be starting at that time. But I think those are probably more appropriate times to have that conversation as well. And also give us some time to actually shift gears from getting over there to, okay, now what here? As Director Schultz said, we continue to do evaluations around what this property could do for us in the future. What we benefit from in terms of best use for the city's perspective and what makes most sense for the residents. But then, is there some use that we would have down the road for our purposes? So understanding what all those opportunities are something I know Director Gaki also is working on.
Thank
I
you.
do know that, just to add to, right, there is a CIP Advisory Committee meeting coming up in July here. And maybe we'll have that as an agenda item for the three council members and us to have a conversation about directions and then even what we see as potential next steps as it relates to this particular piece of property, up to and including the whole host of options that we have available to us. And we can outline those for you when we're able to have a slightly more in-depth conversation, when I'm more prepared to have a more in-depth conversation.
Just one last item. Thank you, Mr. President. I noticed that you had identified a couple of dates for visits. Will you be following up with us by email to schedule those? Okay. I know. Okay.
Yeah, so those are the dates there. I think that we're thinking Tuesday the 21st, July the 23rd. I think we're thinking, I think we were thinking 5:30. We're maybe a little bit flexible on the time. And then I believe that what we talked about for the visit on the 29th, and I could send an email to this effect. I think what we talked about on the 29th was did we say 6 or 6:30?
6:30.
I think that's what we said, right? Yeah, so we'll follow up with an email with those dates and times. I don't necessarily know that we necessarily need to RSVP for those times. It'll be, again, the 21st and the 23rd are council-only times. And then the 29th is some of the other boards and commissions.
I'm going to backtrack. I think having council RSVP so we know on the 21 or 23, because if nobody's coming on either one of those dates. Yeah, Miranda's got it. She's done. Thank you.
Just follow up with them. Anything further on this? Thank you, Director. I was thinking while you were speaking, I certainly appreciate the update, and I think it was in our first couple of weeks as new council members for Ms. Padova and myself, after we were first sworn in, that we first met at the senior center and we're discussing the dilemma of what to do with our facilities. And so it is very exciting to see this coming to fruition. And I'm sure you are ready to be done and moved in, but I think we are equally as eager to get moved in and to see what the facilities will do for our community. So,
Thank you.
So thank you very much for the update. Next up, item D, Section D, items from the Department of Engineering. I don't see you wearing your engineering jacket today.
Sorry, just let's pretend. Actually, I had to give my jacket away. Hossein Naragi, who obviously he's been on staff now for 6-7 weeks-ish or so. I think, as you guys know, he is from Iowa. And he chose to take the Independence Day holiday and a couple extra days here. So I believe he's coming back to the great state of Ohio here tomorrow. So I'm actually just pinch hitting today for him, and we'll make sure that he's at a new council meeting here, and we'll get him introduced. But yes, the Department of Engineering does have 3 items this evening. I'm going to take the first 2 if I could. Action item 1 and action item 2, explain those all together. Those both have to do with the sidewalk maintenance program, and item 2 is the sidewalk maintenance look-back program. This is the time of year in which we have to get the special assessments on the auditors to the auditor's office so that they can be put on the tax bill. So there's a couple of things that would be happening here. First and foremost, a letter was mailed to the residents that do have charges as it relates to their sidewalks on June 29th, and a published public hearing date of July 20th, so your next council meeting was noticed to them at this particular point in time. Again, these are all procedural items, but by code need to be done. After that public hearing is had, they have 30 days in which, if they choose to come in and make payment on those, so then therefore the charges wouldn't show up on their tax bill and be given the 5-year ramp there. So that's a choice that the individual residents have to make at that particular point in time. Once that 30-day window closes, then those assessments are ultimately sent to the auditor's office and then included on their next tax bill, or the next successive 5 tax bills in that particular instance. So for action item number 1 and action item number 2, based on the Department of Engineering's, the Department of Engineering is respectfully requesting that council adopt an ordinance authorizing the city to levy assessments related to the 2025 sidewalk maintenance and sidewalk maintenance look-back programs for work performed in that construction year. We are asking for this legislation to be passed with emergency because of our timing. Our due date to the auditor's office, we would like to have it there a little bit earlier. Our deadline to the auditor's office is September 8th.
All right, thank you, Director. Any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Mrs. McGregor.
And maybe I'm not reading this right, but if it's put on their tax duplicate as assessment, is there any interest on, I thought there was no interest on that.
There is not any interest on that.
It says, but when it says it's rate of interest to the city of auditors, or the county auditor, does that mean something else?
Can you tell me which paragraph?
Oh, something about at the conclusion of the public hearing, at the conclusion of a 30-day period, the clerk shall certify the amount of such assessment, its effective date, and its rate of interest to the county auditor for the addition to the tax duplicate of the properties affected by such assessment. And it's in, I don't know, it's in action item number 1 about the 3rd paragraph down.
Yeah, I see it on that particular item, and I see it on the report reads exactly how it was last year, except for the change of dates, obviously. I'd have to look up the rate of interest. There is no interest on the actual amount due in year 1 versus year 5. The only way that you would be charged interest on those dollars if for some reason you didn't pay your bill on time.
Okay.
Yeah, if you were late, then the special assessment would also receive the percentage of interest.
Okay. I wasn't, and the other thing was, there was one, and I don't know if I can find it. Here. One thing on the list of how much, each property was assessed, or a couple of them, it changed, like from the total cost of the work to the owner defect aggregate cost. And there are a few of them that changed, and I just didn't know, I was just curious as to why it changed. Like maybe 1, 2.
I'm scanning my list here.
Like number 6, it's 560.
For example.
Oh, yeah, first
Total
one.
cost of all work performed is $27,880, and then the owner defect aggregate cost was $21,080, so.
Most of them are the same, but some of them are different.
Yeah, and in some instances, we'd have to look up, so item 6 on, or line 6 on the 2025 sidewalk maintenance program listing, the total cost of all work performed, $560. The owner defect aggregate cost, $120, and then the 50% cost to the owner, or 50% cost share, for $60. We'd have to look at that parcel specifically, but in some instances, there are defects that the city does pick up. So, for example, like if you're a corner lot and we're replacing the curb ramp, we also replaced the 2 sidewalk panels to either side of the curb ramp itself. Those may have been defective and may have and something may have come up in that particular instance, but we'd have to look at some of the ones individually in order to see why there was a discrepancy between the 2. It's also possible that when we went out to that we figured that we could shave that one instead of replace it or
Would that be
some other
trees?
things.
If our city trees had done the damage too, would that have?
No, there are instances where our folks, our Parks Department would be out and they would be pruning the tree and potentially doing some root trimming or pruning of the roots itself. But no, it's not an instance where the tree damage, because remember, the property owner is still responsible for their tree. It's their tree, not our tree at this particular current time. So even if the tree damaged the sidewalk, it's still the responsibility of the property owner.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McGregor. Any further discussion? All right, well, seeing none for both of these items, given that we have the public hearing, I have us on, for first reading on the 20th, and then on the regular agenda on the 3rd. All right, thank you very much. Next item, please.
So our third action item here is for the Hamilton Road Urban Paving Program or Project, capital project number TR 2602. So this is an identified project inside of our current capital plan. This project is for the paving of Hamilton Road from our southern city limit all the way up to Granville Street and Havens Corners. We have the opportunity to apply to ODOT change their program. If you remember correctly, this project was added a number of years ago. But ODOT has changed their process, and now we're really on, it's really almost turned into a grant program. So we actually have to apply for matching funds through ODOT. The reason why you have 2 blanks in this particular report are we went through the selection process, and because of what we need to do by the deadline to apply with ODOT, we need a stamped engineering estimate. So we're not all the way through our procurement process. We've selected the vendor. We're currently in negotiations. This is all part of the procurement and the entering into a contract. These 2 numbers here, we didn't have the ability at that particular point in time, as to the publishing of the report here, to fill in these 2 numbers. Obviously, we will have those 2 numbers in time for first reading and adoption at your next meeting. Once we have those numbers, which we should have them either later this week or early next week, we can email those around to you. Obviously, we do feel that this professional service will be above the $150,000 new procurement threshold, and we'll get that over to you as soon as possible. So the engineering department, I'll go back to the formality of the report here, but the engineering department solicited design services for pre-qualified vendors to perform design work on the aforementioned urban paving program. Throughout this process, they received 2 proposals, and they have chosen to award this particular design contract to GPD, also known as GPD, Glaus, Pyle, Schumer, Burns, and DeHaven Group, GPD. I don't know how you get GPD from all that, but anyway, as the preferred vendor to work with. The work includes, obviously, the resurfacing of Hamilton Road, curb and gutter improvements, sidewalk replacement for eligible properties, right? This would be ineligible. The eligible part there is residential properties. Commercial establishments are still responsible for their sidewalks, and we will not perform that particular work. Again, we'll fill in the two amounts there. So by way of introduction, the administration is respectfully requesting an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into contract with the GPD Group for the design and engineering services of the Hamilton Road repaving project. We are asking for emergency and waiver so that we can get that stamped engineering estimate for the work in time for the grant deadline. And I want to say the grant deadline is I think it's August 28th. I will make note, and I should have mentioned this on the NatureWorks grant as well, but Sean Bach, you've heard his name a couple times in this room in recent weeks. Sean identifies these opportunities. He makes sure they get in front of us. He makes sure that we understand the process, the dates that are associated with it, and then ultimately we get this type of resolution, the NatureWorks resolution, and then this particular contract in front of you guys, so that we can continue to search after third-party resources in order to assist us in the implementation of these projects. So with that, I can take any questions.
Thank you, Director. And I appreciate that clarification, because when I read the report, I was like, we want the waiver so that we can apply for future grants through 2028. So I appreciate it. It's a more pressing need for an immediate grant application.
No, correct. I'm sorry, yeah. So construction on this particular design would start immediately. Construction on this project would be 2028. Yep. So, and that's one of the things that Sean's good at is he really dives into the actual application process. He understands the timing on all of these things, recognizing the fact it's important for us to recognize here that a grant application in 2026 would lead to construction in 2028, right? So we've talked about project and project schedules here in this particular room often. It's a really good illustration that even from the grant standpoint, you need to be prepared to execute on a project, even just to apply for grant funding. And some of the requirements up front are very stringent. A stamped engineering estimate, which means you need a professional engineer to say, these are the quantities and this is what my estimate is. And he put his professional stamp on it in order for us just to apply for the grant. And that is, that can be onerous.
I certainly appreciate the clarification and explanation, so thank you. I did have one other question. Did you say where on Hamilton this work would be performed?
This is from the southern border all the way up to Granville and Havens Corners, right at that intersection there.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, any questions or comments from my colleagues? I just launched right in. All right, well, seeing none, since waiver is requested, this will be on the agenda on the 20th. Regular agenda. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, folks.
Next up, Section E, items from the Department of Public Safety. Good evening, Chief.
We did have a discussion with council leadership. Obviously, one of our points of discussion last year and then kind of going into this year, continuing on the e-bike as they continue to proliferate. As we mentioned, some of this technology gets very complicated. These devices are kind of just taking over, not just in our community, but really across the country. Some legislative efforts at the state level, but locally, as the city attorney alluded to in her report, she is working on rewrite of traffic, or I should say amendments to traffic code and criminal code. We wanted to bring this to you separately for a point of discussion in trying to further some of our efforts in our educational approach. We do realize that helmets, are very much a contributor to safety. I believe that we've seen an exponential rise in head injury due to these devices, and it's directly attributed to lack of wearing helmets. So trying to standardize helmet wear for those under the age of 18, that's what the proposal is, to amend Chapter 373, adding 373.11, which is currently in traffic code as a reserve section, and adding in the proposed language. Just as a note, we continue our educational efforts with these devices. We've worked with our local retailers. We have 2 local retailers here in the city of Gahanna that sell e-devices. We've had a lot of touch points out in the community. We continue to do those efforts. We're working on some videos. In fact, the proof of one is just arrived today. We're making a few edits, and we'll hope to push that out here, hopefully by the end of the week, I'm sure, with those edits. So that's the first of the series of 3, starring me and Officer Gillespie from our SRO unit. Legislation in front of you that does make mandatory helmet wear for those under the age of 18 for electric, any bicycle, including electric bicycles and powered scooters. sets forth the type of device, or I'm sorry, the type of helmet, also adding in the parent or guardian language. This closely mirrors that of New Albany with a few minor changes, trying to maintain consistency among communities. Most of our, there are some slight nuances, across communities. Ours closely mirrors Westerville. They reference their uptown district. We talk about business district. So they're very much similar, whether it's class 1, class 2, class 3. As I, mentioned earlier, probably our biggest issue that we see out there are these e-motos. There's a lot of confusion that an e-moto is actually an electric bicycle. That is not true. An electric motorcycle is equipped with pegs. There is no ability to pedal power it. We continue to see those. Those can travel at speeds 40 or 50 miles an hour. We're seeing, very young riders that are on these devices, the ones without driver's licenses. I equate them back to what used to be the dirt bike, which, when I was a 13 and 14-year-old, we knew were not permissible on the roadway. We tried and we tempted fate. I got in trouble with the Tiffin police for being on one at one point. Little known fact. So, again, those continue to be our number one source of complaint when it comes to e-devices. Getting into speeds at which these can travel, 10 miles an hour on some of them. The class 3, the big e-bikes can travel at speeds up to 28 miles an hour. This would standardize across the 325 lane miles of roadway that we're responsible for, the 192 miles of sidewalks and the 20.3 miles of mixed-use trails that we have in Gahanna. Up for discussion. Obviously, we've had a lot of discussion in last meeting on these, and again, speaking with leadership. So, open for questions.
Thank you, Chief, and appreciate the community engagement campaign that's been undertaken as well. Any questions or comments? Ms. Bowers?
Sure, I'll just express my gratitude for the prompt response to this. So thank you. I think that this extension of helmet laws to all bikes without classification is an important step. So appreciate that work and the public engagement that will follow.
Thank you, Ms. Bowers. Ms. Padova?
Saying thank you so much for getting this drafted. As a parent, I appreciate this, and I'm sure I am not alone. It is much easier to tell a child that you have to wear a helmet because it's a law, even if, instead of saying, well, so-and-so's parent doesn't make them. I might still take the brunt for that. So I do have a couple of questions kind of related to more so to the bike, scooters, things more so than the helmets. But do the class 3 e-bikes, do those require a speedometer to actually know what the speed is that they are going?
Yeah, so I would say that, again, there's a number of these, but a lot of them, of the newer devices, and we're talking, class 3, I might get some of this information wrong, but, the class 3, the larger type batteries, those are fairly new devices. And many times, they're connected to an app. And that's how they control speed. That's how they perform a lot of functions, route tracking and that sort of thing. So they are regulated in terms of their total speed, and they are equipped with speedometers, but more often than not, they're connected to a phone and an app, and that provides a lot more data, and that seems to be the common form a speedometer, even though they are equipped with a small display. They're mostly connected to a phone.
That's not what I was expecting, and actually more terrifying that they would be looking at their phone to see how fast they're going.
It acts as a GPS device, and yes, I agree with you, but I understand there's a lot of technology. I've seen some of them where it essentially locks the phone to just that display. I'm sure there's probably a way of, I haven't seen every one of the apps. I've just gotten a little bit familiar with what they do, but it does lock the display, and it's a wayfinding device, but it's also a speedometer.
Okay. So at our last discussion that was a little bit more informal than this, you mentioned, and I hope I'm getting this right, but that scooters were considered a mobility device and they weren't necessarily in our code. Are we?
Scooters are in code. There are some there's some additional provisions for a limited mobility device. So that's an assisted mobility device. So, but the scooters do fall in our code. They are permitted on sidewalks. There are regulations directly related to them.
Okay, so if somebody has like the electric wheelchairs,
That's
like a true mobility device.
That's completely separate, yes, an assisted mobility device.
So are those allowed on the sidewalks?
Yes.
Okay. I remember having a discussion with somebody that had one of those a few years ago, and my memory might not be correct on that, but I thought that she had told me that she wasn't technically allowed to ride that on the streets or the sidewalks, but those are allowed on.
Completely
Okay.
separate classification of device.
Okay,
yes.
I just wanted to make sure as we're having these discussions on, the scooters and the e-bikes, that we're not overlooking the people that truly need these to get around and get outside, so.
Absolutely. We have one resident that operates a recumbent type electric, I don't want to classify it as a wheelchair, but it's kind of a hybrid between a recumbent bicycle and a wheelchair type device. But that would be one of those that would fit into that assisted mobility device.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all of the questions that I had for you, but thank you for getting something put together on helmets. That is, that's very important to make sure that our kids are being safe and protecting their brains, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schnetzer?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Chief. Just a question on, I suppose, the practical enforcement of this particular requested revision. I know there's been other items within code where, the police department has asked for the ability to have something on the books, but maybe taking a gentler approach. I've got one son in particular that I think we've replaced 3 water bottles this baseball season alone because he's constantly forgetting things. So if he wears his helmet to a buddy's house, forgets it there, and then he's riding back, and he just happens to, drive past a cruiser, how do you actually see this being enforced?
Again, I think the approach that we've taken, we've done a lot of educational outreach. We partner with Nationwide Children's Hospital. We do we go out, we give out ice cream, to those. We do a lot of positive reinforcement. I know that I think the mayor was on a ride-along recently where we were out there. Our SRO and CLO staff, they're out there. So, yes, we're going to continue that approach. I will say that we are. Again, it's another tool in the toolbox. And when you see a lot of the, going back to the e-motos, and I know I've kind of hit that pretty hard and heavy in our last presentation, but frankly, a lot of times, the people on the e-motos, they're not wearing helmets. So there's an immediate indicator. You've got a 13-year-old that's riding one of these devices. It's probable cause to make a stop, to have an interaction. Just by the mere sight of they're underage, they do not have a helmet. It's just another tool in the toolbox. So we run across similar situations all the time. It's an educational outreach. It's an ability to contact the parent. Hey, here's what is required. They need to have a helmet. And it's a warning. It's a positive interaction, and we move on. But there are cases, again, that we've got, some people that are non-compliant, that we've already documented 1 and 2 stops, on an e-moto. We've taken enforcement action on a couple of those. We had an individual who was traveling at high rate of speed on an e-moto. He was 14 years old, had the big headphones on, completely distracted. There was another violation of traffic code on a public roadway. We took enforcement action because there were already 2 documented warnings. They weren't heeded, and there was an additional violation of traffic code in that stop. So we impounded that device, had the parents come in. That created a lot of tension because they thought it was an electric bicycle. It was not. So yeah, we're going to continue that positive reinforcement and those positive interactions. Working with the schools as we get back into the school, we'll roll out some educational efforts at the school level, at the middle schools. We have SROs in the middle schools. That's where we're seeing, most of the risk-taking behavior. And then, we have our junior police academy coming up here in just a couple of short weeks. That's going to have another series of ambassadors, of that age group that we're trying to identify, and a block of that junior police academy is going to be on traffic, and this is going to be folded into it. So, yeah, well, in that case, again, we're going to give a warning. It's those repeated ones that we're going to probably take enforcement action if we're not getting compliance from the parents.
Thank you.
Mr. Renner?
Yes, I too want to join my colleagues in actually saying thank you to you, Chief, and thank you to the mayor for bringing this legislation forward. During the leadership meeting, I was one of the proponents of this, and I'm a strong believer in safety. I don't really see, and I wince a little bit about some of the hinting of regulating our technology. Mobility is something that's for our residents, and it's healthy lifestyle, and it's sustainable. We really need to focus and continue, you're already doing it, on education, and then regulating the risk behavior. I think that's actually more appropriate, and it sounds like you're on that path, so thank you.
Ms. Fidel?
Sorry, I have one other. Do we have resources? I know you mentioned a few times that we partner with NCH. Do we have resources for if a kid says they don't have a helmet, they have...
We've given out helmets. We've given out helmets. We've actually gone around, we've always had a really good partnership with Bicycle One. They do a lot, and they're ahead of us. They're doing a lot of education when they sell these. I mean, they couldn't be a greater partner in the community. Our other partner up at the Trek store on the north end. So there is legislation at the state level with a House bill that would mandate safety rules at point of purchase, point of sale for these devices. So the short answer is yes. We've reached into our, at times we've reached into our own pockets to make sure they're equipped. We've given out helmets. We've always been able to find the means to make sure if there's somebody out there that's in need, that we're taking care of them. We've actually provided bicycles a lot of times. We've done bicycle repair clinics. We've done a lot of those efforts to make sure that, the people that are in need are taken care of.
Thank you. That's excellent. And then one other is, has there been outreach to like Scouts, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, like organizations like that to do
Yeah, as a matter of
kind
fact,
of
we
some
just had a,
education?
we just had a Boy Scout group in roughly 2 weeks ago. That was another, touch point that we were able to, use, to talk about safety, especially in the summertime. That's a common.
I was going to add our summer camps. So we've had our officers
camps as
visit
well,
all of our
yes.
summer camps. If they have not already done so, they're going to visit all of them because they're captive audience. So we're talking to those kids. Our SROs and CLOs have been doing that as well. Also trying to reach out to some of our other organizations within the city that deal with kids, like 254, those places, to see if we can get in there and what are those times that we can come in and talk to them as well. And then working on maybe some opportunities for even once the school year starts. Are there opportunities where we can partner with the schools to share communication? Use will probably go down at that point because it'll be fall and kids will be back to school. So right now we're trying to, where are they right now where we can get easiest access to them to share information with them?
And also, I want to add the community paramedic program with Mifflin Fire. That's certainly another touch point with Beth DeConnick and Mifflin Fire. We were at the Pride Festival. We were handing out, literature. We were giving out the information. You've seen that matrix that we've published wide and far. We provided that. And again, just another opportunity to educate. And, we had our community paramedic out there with us and, just the same information. So areas that the community paramedic touches, that information is getting out there.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anything else for this item? All right, seeing none, are folks okay with the first reading on the 20th and then on consent on the 3rd? All right. Thank you, Chief. Thank you very much. All right, our final item for the evening, items from the City Attorney. City Attorney Tamala.
Yes, thank you. Last but not least, I just have a quick request for an amendment to our copy charges. Recently, last year in 2025, the state legislature did authorize the ability for police departments and prosecutors' offices to include staff time in a calculation of actual costs that can be passed on to requesters for certain video footage. This would be things like cruiser cameras and body camera footage. These would not include any kind of criminal prosecutions. Those discovery rules are separate. That is not applicable to this. This would not include officer-involved incidents that would be exempt also. There is a series of exemptions that are listed in the amendment also that would exempt this. This is for things like automated requesters, people who are just pulling every body cam for a particular type of offense, those kinds of things that create a lot of administrative burden that have no ability to be offset. So that provides us with and so we do have a records commission that meets regularly that would review and actually implement the specific policy and costs. This is just to allow them to do so that would not conflict with our existing code language.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Ms. Bowers?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, City Attorney Tamala. It's my recollection, I didn't follow this extremely closely, but it's my recollection that there was a fair amount of opposition to this bill at the state level, especially among civil rights organizations and the plaintiff's bar. I guess I would just express a little bit of concern that I have, given some of the opposition that I've seen, that there are concerns about public policy, about advancing staff time costs, which is, I think, maybe intrinsic to the job of public service.
I do believe that the policy and the fees are meant to offset kind of onerous and overly burdensome costs. that are related to just going through and redacting extensive hours of footage on a routine basis. And the number of exemptions, I think, is sensitive to the fact that when there is a bona fide need for the footage, that those fees can be waived. It also does allow the chief to determine if in public interest those fees should be waived, as well as my office. And so I do think that there is a balance to be struck by preserving the interests of public transparency and availability of public records, as well as not overburdening or, essentially bombarding staff time with these kinds of requests.
What about in a scenario where there's an allegation of excessive use of force that doesn't result in death? Because it doesn't appear to me that the exceptions would waive a fee for that scenario. Would we be?
I think in that case, it's in our interest to get that information out as quickly as possible. If Mr. Chair, if you'd indulge me on a scenario that we're trying to offset with this language, and that is, and we have not been a recipient of these, but other agencies that are within Franklin County have, where a bot or logarithm is being used to pull real case numbers, real defendants, so that and then they generate an automatic request through our portal. One agency got 20 requests in 1 minute, and they're all valid. They're all valid requests because they have an actual case number. And those are coming in which hours and hours and hours and hours of staff time are devoted to redacting what is otherwise a legitimate request when we know it's not legitimate. So this is trying to offset some of those pieces of technology that are being exploited to, as City Attorney Tam Larson said, to be overly burdensome. So that type of scenario that you mentioned, it's in our interest to get that information out as quickly as possible in the interest of transparency. But yeah, we have to kind of stay ahead of some of the technology that is inundating us. We also have, people under the guise of, the public watchdog.
Right.
And again, some of those are very legitimate.
Right.
But some of them are used, in a punitive way or designed to slow down processes to be overly burdensome for no legitimate purpose. So that's what we're trying to offset in some of this.
Would you be receptive to broadening the exception beyond death to any use of force incidents? I mean, I notice you have firearm, but I mean, there's other obviously other use of force incidents.
I would agree with you, but, some of these are, they're asking for broad anytime a use of force. I mean, and I certainly understand your concern, but, if somebody were to generate a bot that would request every one of those over a period of time, 6 months, a year, and they're pulling individual case numbers, individual defendants, and they're coming in short order, that would be one of these types of issues that we're trying to offset. So
This is like playing whack-a-mole, though, because if you're trying to create some type of threshold, then they're not required to provide an identity. So then you have anonymous requesters and you can't aggregate.
It becomes a very difficult, I think we worked pretty diligently on a policy that was in the interest of transparency, of getting that information out. I think that, that exchange worked very well. I would be open to, what type of amendment we could get in, but I just want to be cognizant that, it could be exploited and be overly burdensome at the same time.
If I could add, just to acknowledge, so I had listed what we had perceived as the additional exemptions from cost. There are some statutory exemptions, and I can make note of those as well and add those to this list that include things like anybody who is a victim under Marcy's Law's definitions of a victim, a victim's advocate or victim's attorney, victim's insurance company, that are all statutorily exempt from these costs as well.
Okay.
So if there was ever a use of force situation in which somebody was claiming to be a victim of excessive use of force, et cetera, and they are in fact a named victim under Marcy's Law, they would be statutorily exempt also. So I can work on this language to make that explicitly clear.
Could,
Thank you.
could you also provide the fee schedule? As it would be redlined, I didn't see it in the attachment.
So this is a two-step process. The first step is to have this ordinance amended to allow a fee schedule to be established. The second step would be for the Records Commission to meet and establish that fee schedule. As some foreshadowing here, I believe the number that was thrown out, if you are curious for that specifically, was $38 per hour of footage for the initial request. And then any subsequent requests would be a quarter of an hour spent, a quarter of that for one to repeat and reproduce that document. But those would be things that would be fleshed out at the Records Commission meeting, which is also a public meeting. And that would be discussed there for the exact dollar amount and how that was calculated and why that would be appropriate.
Appreciate that clarification. Any further questions or discussion on this item? All right, then I would say on for first on the 20th and then regular agenda on the 3rd, then please. All right, anything else for committee this evening? Seeing none, we will adjourn. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.